What looked like a £32 million royal fairy tale later got recast as something far darker, and now one of the women long linked to the late Queen's private world is reportedly tied to claims that are shaking Meghan's old image all over again. Long before the Oprah interview, and long before all the public fallout reached its peak, people close to palace life were said to have noticed early cracks in Meghan's polished bridal image. At the centre of these reports is Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, a figure once seen as one of Queen Elizabeth II's most trusted family members. By March 2026, that old reluctant royal storyline was reportedly taking heavy damage. Accounts linked to Sophie allegedly point to internal briefings that paint Meghan's arrival in the House of Windsor not as some random love story, but as a carefully managed move. While Meghan publicly said she knew little about the royal family, these reports, tied to London's elite circles and aristocratic networks, suggest the opposite. According to that version of events, Meghan's so-called royal campaign began as early as 2013, after the collapse of her first marriage. These claims push a much sharper idea that Meghan did not simply cross paths with Prince Harry by chance. Instead, the reports frame it as deliberate, focused, and highly calculated. Sophie's alleged dossiers say Meghan studied Harry closely, zeroing in on deeply personal pressure points: his grief over Princess Diana, his emotional bond with Africa, and his longing for someone who seemed to share his humanitarian vision. In that version of the story, when they met at Soho House, it was not some casual blind date at all. It was a performance, and Harry was reportedly pulled in fast. Sophie's alleged assessment goes even further, describing Meghan's public innocence as the strongest role of her acting career. One of the details that palace watchers find most eerie involves Meghan's transport on May 19, 2018, the day of the royal wedding. She arrived at St. George's Chapel in a Rolls-Royce Phantom 4, a car with powerful royal history. Palace insiders reportedly viewed that choice as loaded with meaning because the same model was strongly associated with Wallis Simpson, the American divorcee tied forever to the abdication crisis. In this reading, the car was not just elegant, it was a message. To critics inside that world, the signal was ice cold. The suggestion was that Meghan was presenting herself as the new disruptive American woman entering the monarchy on her own terms. Whether that was truly her intention or not, Sophie's alleged findings say some inside the palace saw it exactly that way. They reportedly felt the choice cast a chill over the ceremony and hinted that Meghan was not coming in to blend quietly into royal life, but to challenge the structure itself. Then came the chapel issue, and this part still sounds wild to royal traditionalists. Sophie's reported findings say Meghan complained that St. George's Chapel had a musty old smell and wanted staff to use air fresheners or atomizers throughout the ancient building. Palace staff, reportedly horrified by the idea of spraying chemicals around historic stone, fabric, and sacred space, pushed back. According to these accounts, that refusal sparked a serious temper blow-up. To critics, this was not about taste. It showed a clash between British heritage and what they saw as Meghan's Hollywood-style expectations. That moment reportedly fed into the bigger staff drama already building behind the scenes. Sophie's sources describe Meghan's way of managing people as intense, relentless, and hard to handle. Aides were said to feel bombarded by demands. And this atmosphere reportedly helped trigger the steady palace staff exodus that later became such a huge talking point. In these accounts, Meghan was not treating royal tradition like something to respect. She was treating it like a production set that needed a fast makeover. Another image Sophie's reported team supposedly studied closely was Meghan's solo walk-up part of the aisle. Meghan reportedly wanted that visual badly because it projected independence and strength. Footage reviewed by those tied to Sophie allegedly showed Meghan brushing away a royal assistant who tried to adjust her veil. Whether people read that as confidence or control, critics around Sophie's version of events say Meghan wanted the cameras fixed on her and nothing else. That visual, to them, was not accidental. It was branding. One of the hardest hits to Meghan's credibility, according to these reports, came later with the Oprah claim that she and Harry were married in their backyard 3 days before the public wedding. Sophie's alleged material points to the Archbishop of Canterbury's clarification that the legal wedding took place only on May 19th, 2018. For Meghan's critics, that contradiction became a huge problem. Sophie's side reportedly argues that Meghan wanted the world to believe the lavish ceremony was just empty theatre forced on her, even though these same records suggest she was deeply involved in shaping every major detail of it. The same pattern reportedly showed up during a 2017 Sandringham shooting weekend, when Harry introduced Meghan to old friends, aristocrats, and long-time companions. According to Sophie's sources, Meghan clashed with them hard, pressing them on sexism and social issues in a way that left the group stunned. Harry's friends allegedly walked away thinking she was condescending and humorless. Instead of listening to those concerns, Harry reportedly drifted further from his old circle. In this version of events, Meghan did not just enter his life, she helped cut him off from the people who knew him best. Then, there is the Thomas Markle question, which Sophie's alleged findings frame in a very harsh light. Publicly, Thomas became one of the main villains of the 2018 wedding story, but these reports claim Meghan was embarrassed by her father's middle-class image and saw him as a risk to the glossy version of herself she wanted to present. Even when King Charles reportedly urged reconciliation, she refused. Critics say that was not random family pain, it was image control. Plain and simple. The bridesmaid dress drama is still one of the messiest and most talked about parts of the whole saga. Meghan later claimed Catherine made her cry, but Sophie's alleged witness-based material says the real conflict ran the other way. Staff reportedly described Meghan as dismissive and overbearing during the dispute over Princess Charlotte's dress and questions of protocol, including whether the bridesmaids should wear tights. In that account, the issue was never just fabric or fittings. It was power, status, and Meghan trying to push herself above rules Catherine had spent years learning. From Sophie's reported perspective, the 2018 royal wedding was handed to Meghan as an extraordinary gift, a massive celebration blending pageantry, history, diversity, and tradition. But later, Meghan allegedly reframed it as something she merely endured. By March 2026, critics say that contrast had become a serious credibility problem. The wedding, in this reading, was not just a marriage ceremony. It was a high-stakes branding launch, funded by an institution Meghan would later publicly attack. Money became another battlefield, and Sophie's reports allegedly focus hard on that point. Meghan was said to have blurred the facts around the wedding cost, implying the public paid for her and therefore somehow owned her. The total was about £32 million, but Sophie's documentation reportedly makes a key distinction. Roughly £30 million went to security, a state requirement for a national event of that scale. The royal family, according to these records, covered the church service, flowers, decorations, and receptions privately. Critics say Meghan used that confusion to stir resentment while still enjoying an insane level of luxury. During Oprah, Meghan downplayed St. George's Chapel as a spectacle for the world and implied she and Harry really wanted something intimate, something just for us. Sophie, who was reportedly involved in wedding planning, allegedly saw that as an insult not only to the family, but to millions of Britons who celebrated the event as a genuine national moment. Her archives, according to these claims, show Meghan was deeply involved in tiny details from start to finish. So to Sophie's side, Meghan did not suffer through the spectacle. She directed it, then later trashed it when it no longer served her. By March 2026, as more of these alleged credibility-damaging chapters circulated, Meghan was reportedly furious. Reports claim she was deeply upset that the narrative built between 2018 and 2021 was being chipped apart piece by palace records, witness accounts, church clarification, and even vehicle history. And maybe the part stinging the most was London's silence. King William and Queen Catherine, according to this narrative, no longer react. They keep moving. The monarchy stays steady, and the Sussex storyline is increasingly treated as background noise instead of a real threat. That silence may be hitting Meghan where it hurts most: status, influence, and money. According to the reports surrounding Sophie's material, major brands and studios are said to be wary about new partnerships because Meghan now looks like a risky bet. And that is where the last point lands hard. If stories tied to the world's most famous royal family can be challenged by an archbishop, palace logs, staff accounts, and old records, then trust becomes the real issue. And that question now hangs directly over Meghan's image, her market value, and her future deals. Second, Meghan's world now looks a lot lonelier than the one she stepped into back in 2018. The celebrity crowd that once filled the royal wedding and added shine to her image seems far less visible now, and critics say that shift matters. What was sold as a £32 million royal spectacle is now being framed by opponents as the same event dragging her brand into a deep reputational mess. By March 2026, the conversation around Meghan had reportedly moved way past bridesmaid dresses and wedding gossip. According to claims tied to Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, the focus had shifted to older networks, buried tensions, and a much harsher review of Meghan's rise inside royal life. Sophie, often described as one of the steadiest figures in the family, is reportedly linked to information that critics say connects Meghan's pre-royal world to highly controversial elite circles from the early 2000s. In that version of events, this is no longer just about image or ego. It becomes a story about old contacts, legal shadows, and what some describe as a full documentation war between Montecito and the palace. One of the most controversial strands in the material, Sophie reportedly reviewed centres on Meghan's pre-royal social life and her connections through Soho House. Critics argue those circles overlapped with powerful figures around Prince Andrew, and by extension, people later tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Reports have also revisited claims that lawyers for Virginia Giuffre allegedly considered Meghan as a possible witness in the civil case involving Prince Andrew, based on a belief that she may have known more than the public realised. Sophie's reported findings also highlight something critics find suspicious. Harry and Meghan have publicly gone after several senior royals, but have stayed notably quiet on Prince Andrew. In Sophie's interpretation, that silence is not random. It suggests an uneasy standstill where neither side wants to speak too openly. Whether that reading is fair or not, it adds a darker tone to the whole palace conflict story. The tiara dispute is another flashpoint, and Sophie's reported version treats it as much more than a simple wedding clash. Meghan was said to have wanted an emerald tiara, but palace staff reportedly told her it was unavailable because of concerns about provenance and historical uncertainty. When that happened, the mood allegedly turned tense very quickly. Harry's line, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets," has been framed by critics not as romance, but as a direct challenge to royal authority and protocol. According to these reports, Queen Elizabeth II stepped in firmly. She reportedly made it clear that Meghan would wear the tiara she was given, not the one she demanded. For Sophie's side, that moment mattered because it showed Meghan there were limits she could not push past. In this telling, it was the first major reminder that no amount of attention could place her above the monarch. The 2021 bullying investigation also remains one of the most damaging parts of this whole narrative. The palace opened that inquiry over Meghan's alleged treatment of staff, but the results were never fully released, reportedly to protect privacy. Sophie now claims to have seen fragments and witness summaries from that process. If those claims are accurate, the descriptions are harsh. Staff left in tears, shaken by pressure and worn down by early morning emails and constant corrections. Critics say the biggest problem here is the contrast. While Meghan publicly built an image around kindness and compassion, some employees allegedly experienced something very different behind the scenes. At the same time, the palace under King William is said to have adopted a colder strategy. Instead of arguing in public, they are reportedly documenting everything. The claim is that logs, emails, internal records, and even CCTV from 2018 to 2020 have been organised into a counter-dossier. That file is described as something being held in reserve in case Meghan or Harry launch another memoir or major interview attacking the institution. If true, critics believe that is the one kind of record Meghan's team would struggle to explain away. What makes this hit harder is the way the wedding itself has been recast. The £32 million event that once launched Meghan into global fame is now, in this story, the same event critics used to question her credibility. Later comments that downplayed the grandeur of the wedding helped fuel the impression that she wanted the status, the attention, and the luxury, but not the lasting obligation that came with it. In Britain, that split has reportedly damaged her standing badly. Sophie's reported assessment goes even further by suggesting Meghan is not just facing an image problem, but a financial squeeze too. With major deals losing momentum and royal access no longer providing the same shine, critics argue she is running out of easy routes back to influence. In that reading, her search for fresh power is no longer just ambition, it is necessity. Another part of Sophie's alleged dossier focuses on Prince Harry's place in all this. The argument is brutal. Harry was not truly the end goal, but the bridge. He brought titles, history, prestige, and the emotional pull of Diana's legacy. In that framework, he was the path into a world Meghan could turn into a global platform. But by early 2026, critics say that Royal Bridge had been largely cut off, leaving Harry stripped of much of what once made him uniquely valuable in public life. That is why this theory about the Sussex marriage sounds so ruthless. Sophie reportedly characterises Meghan's loyalty as tied to usefulness more than emotion. Just as critics claim she moved on from her first marriage once her career changed, Sophie's side predicts she could distance herself from Harry too if his royal value keeps fading. Whether that prediction proves true or not, it shows just how harsh the anti-Meghan narrative has become. The entertainment side makes that pressure worse. Yes, the first Netflix project drew attention, but critics say it ran on royal pain, and that kind of fuel does not last forever. Since then, Pearl was dropped, Spotify fell apart, and the Grifters label still hangs over the brand. Sophie's reported conclusion is that Meghan's media identity became too reactive. Instead of building a strong creative body of work, she focused too much on managing image and selling access to royal drama. Once those secrets were spent, critics say the vault started looking empty. Then comes one of the most explosive theories of all, that Meghan is now quietly networking among tech billionaires, venture capital figures, and powerful investor circles in California. Sophie reportedly suggests Meghan may be looking for a new empire-level connection, someone with more money, reach, and modern influence than an ex-prince can now offer. In that interpretation, Harry starts to look less like a partner and more like a stepping stone whose usefulness is fading fast. Reports from Montecito also describe a tense atmosphere behind closed doors. Meghan is said to be furious that the carefully shaped story from 2018 to 2021 is now being challenged by former staff, old records, and palace-linked voices she may have once dismissed. She is reportedly highly focused on how she appears online, especially as old stories like the Wallis-Simpson comparisons and the Chapel spray controversy keep resurfacing. Critics say that every rebuttal only gives those claims more oxygen, trapping her in a cycle where the more she tries to control the story, the more the story controls her. Meanwhile, London is being presented as the opposite picture entirely. Under King William and Queen Catherine, the monarchy is described by supporters as stable, disciplined, and service-driven again. The palace no longer seems interested in fighting Meghan directly. Instead, it treats her as someone outside the main story now. And that silence is what gives the ending of this whole narrative its sharpest edge. The idea that Meghan is no longer the central figure in the story of the British monarchy, but a shadow figure in an industry. Third, Meghan tried to take over the story, but the institution she wanted to reshape is still standing without her. By April 2026, the picture laid out in the internal briefings tied to Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, reportedly points to one brutal idea: main character syndrome. In this telling, Meghan did not treat royal life like a duty to step into. She treated it like a giant stage built for her own storyline, where everyone else, from the Archbishop of Canterbury to the King of England, existed to support her image. That claim sits at the heart of Sophie's reported findings. Critics say Meghan allegedly saw every major royal moment through one question only: how it could serve her narrative. And according to these reports, that mindset has now pushed her into social fallout, where the same elite circles she once chased are quietly stepping back. No big public split, no dramatic statement, just a silent retreat that says more than words ever could. The clearest example, according to Sophie's dossiers, is still the backyard wedding claim from the Oprah interview. Meghan looked into the camera and said she and Harry were married by the Archbishop of Canterbury 3 days before the public ceremony. That line made the £32 million wedding sound fake, forced, and empty, while the private moment sounded pure and real. But the Archbishop later clarified that the only legal wedding took place on Saturday, May 19, 2018. After that, the Sussex version reportedly shifted and was reframed as a private exchange of vows instead. Sophie reportedly argues this was not a simple misunderstanding. In her view, it was a calculated effort to make the public believe that the giant royal wedding was something done to Meghan, not something she fully embraced. But Sophie's archives, as described in these reports, suggest the opposite. They say Meghan was deeply invested in the scale, glamour, and power of the spectacle. Critics argue she wanted the shine when it lifted her, then tried to downplay it later when sympathy worked better for her image. That same pattern, Sophie says, showed up in the wedding footage itself. Meghan's solo walk down the first half of the aisle at St. George's Chapel was publicly framed as bold and independent. But Sophie's side reportedly saw it as a carefully staged camera moment designed for maximum impact. In that version, it was less about independence and more about image control. Every shot had to land, every angle had to flatter, and every emotional beat had to keep Meghan right at the centre. Reports even claim a royal assistant trying to guide her was brushed aside because Meghan wanted the visual untouched. To Sophie, that was the moment some staff realised Meghan did not want to join the royal family. She wanted the royal family to join her brand. Another major symbol in Sophie's exposure is the repeated Wallis-Simpson comparison. Meghan's use of the Rolls-Royce Phantom 4 is treated as far more than a wedding detail. In royal memory, that vehicle carries strong links to Wallis-Simpson and the abdication era. Sophie's camp reportedly argues that Meghan's choice of that specific car was a deliberate act of defiance. Palace insiders claim other vehicles were suggested, but Meghan allegedly pushed for the Phantom 4 anyway. To critics in the old royal guard, that was not random. That was a message. Meghan as the new American disruptor who would not be absorbed by the institution. Then came the now famous dispute over the scent inside St. George's Chapel. Sophie's report repeats the staff account that Meghan wanted air fresheners or atomizers used in the chapel because she disliked the smell. Palace staff and clergy were reportedly horrified. To them, this was a 500-year-old consecrated space, not a set to be adjusted for comfort or style. The request allegedly caused serious tension, and when staff resisted, the mood reportedly exploded. Sophie's interpretation is blunt. Meghan treated a sacred and historic place like a backdrop that needed to fit her standard. That same criticism extends to the way staff later described working for her. Former aides, according to these accounts, felt bombarded by early morning messages, non-stop corrections, and impossible expectations. Some critics even used the phrase Sussex Survivors Club for ex-staff who felt badly shaken by the experience. By April 2026, Sophie's social bankruptcy argument reportedly looked even stronger because the celebrity circle around Meghan seemed much thinner. The major names who once filled the pews in 2018, including Oprah Winfrey, the Clooneys, and Serena Williams, now appeared far more distant. Sophie points out that these people are masters of brand management. They know when someone becomes too risky to stand beside. In Hollywood, once credibility starts cracking, the quiet retreat begins fast. That is why Sophie's dossier reportedly treats Meghan as a high-risk asset. Fame alone is not enough. A title alone is not enough. Once believability starts slipping, value begins slipping too. That is what gives the ending of this whole narrative its hardest punch. The fairy tale is over, and the spectacle has ended in what critics call a full credibility collapse. Sophie's final assessment reportedly argues that the wedding was treated less like a sacred commitment and more like a launch event for a glossy private brand. The Phantom 4, the solo aisle walk, and the later effort to downgrade the public ceremony all point, critics say, in the same direction. Meghan did not just want royal life. She wanted the image engine behind it. Still hanging over everything is the bullying investigation, which Sophie's briefings reportedly describe as the most dangerous file the palace holds. with logs, emails, and internal records said to be part of a counter-dossier if another major attack ever comes. At the same time, reports from San Francisco and Los Angeles describe Meghan networking among investors and ultra-wealthy power players, while Harry is increasingly framed as a tragic figure cut off from his old world. Meanwhile, under King William and Queen Catherine, supporters say the monarchy looks steady, polished, and untouched by Sussex drama. Meghan came into royal life wanting to be the Queen of Hearts, but critics say she behaved more like the director of a production. Now she stands as a shadow duchess. The spectacle is over. The fairy tale is dead. And the House of Windsor has played the long game and won. Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more royal updates and drama.